Hello there, and welcome to episode 6 of Triton Squadron. Today we are joined by Anish
Hello there.
and Siddhant.
General Kenobi.
This is my triumphant return to this podcast. I know I haven't been here for a while, but we have some pretty exciting updates to share with everyone about the fan film, which I'm directing. We do have a GoFundMe if Anish or Siddhant, you guys want to talk about that.
Initially, we did not have any money for this fan film. It was entirely a passion project that we wanted to do. And over time, we've been working on building a custom lightsaber for one of our characters. We've been making a lot of credits for a sabacc scene in the film. We've been spending on a lot of different things, and we're at the point where, we need some money. Because Liam has also spent like maybe 500 plus on costumes or something like that. So yeah, we do have a GoFundMe page. I believe it was posted in our Discord. I'm pretty sure it's on our Instagram as well. I know a couple of us or reposting it around earlier in the week. But yeah, we would really appreciate any donations, even if it's as small as $5, $10. It really does add up, and your support would really mean a lot to help us make this film happen. Because without you, we really can't cover the costs of everything that we're doing to make this a quality production. So yeah, we would encourage you all to donate.
Yes, and your name will also show up in the credits if you donate. So that's very cool. And for those of you who don't know, the film is shaping up to be around maybe like 45 minutes, and it's about a group of Jedi that are hiding out after Order 66 on a not really deserted, but like remote planet. And they're being hunted by two mysterious Imperials. So very exciting. And it's been a blast directing, and all the costumes look amazing. As I think Anish and Liam, you guys can attest to that. And yeah, there's gonna be lightsaber fights, sabacc, lots of fun things.
Our GoFundMe link should be in the episode description, so feel free to check that out and for some behind the scenes images.
Yes. And so today's episode will be about the Bad Batch, but obviously, as everyone knows, Mandalorian season 3 is coming out at the same time as Bad Batch. So I think it'd be remiss to go without just touching on your initial thoughts on the season, maybe like what you guys are excited for. Uh, Keep it like as spoiler free as possible. I do know that the Star Wars Instagram account has already posted about Ahmed Best and Kelleran Beck and all that, but I think for me personally, that was my favorite thing to have come out of the season, and the Mythosaur appearance at the end of episode 2 or something, episode 1, episode 3. Yeah,
Yeah, I would definitely agree. I feel like, speaking at a more high level, the season's definitely been very different than I think what a lot of us were expecting. Even pacing wise, the fact that as soon as episode two, we're going to Mandalore. Episode three is entirely about the New Republic, and as Brian said in episode four, we got a flashback to Ahmed Best as Jedi Kelleran Beck, right? And I think the structure of the season, the direction they've taken some of the characters has been, I think, very different from what a lot of the predictions I've seen were. And it's very compelling to me. I think the character journeys are very interesting, and I'm very hopeful for the remainder of the season.
Yeah, as far as pacing, it's backwards to what I thought it would be. So like we already have some major plot points already happening. Um and then I was thinking that it was gonna be a lot like season one with more like side quests before we actually get to Mandalore and stuff. Like I thought he was gonna go find the part for IG-11 before
yeah,
anything
same.
like important started happening. And then with the pirate stuff, I thought that was gonna be like the overarching conflict before he finally like figures all that out and then he gets to go to Mandalore. But now that like the Mandalore stuff has started happening, I'm hoping that we'll go back to the side quest and it'll just be a flip flop from what I was expecting because I want more like the mundane side quest stuff that we got in season one because I miss it now that like important things are actually happening.
I find it like kind of cool that we had Bo-Katan move from the presumed antagonist of season 3 from all of the promotional material to just end up becoming the secondary protagonist. And I'm interested to see like how we're gonna further develop her.
Yeah, I do think a lot of this season's character work so far is really good because I do think that's something that kind of lacks in The Mandalorian, at least, is like substantial character work. Like there was maybe that episode season 2 where like he like his like helmet's off for the entire episode where he's with the Imperials. Like that was a really great episode, but I think overall like Liam said, it's a lot of like mundane. side quest things. And I do think that like the story and development stuff in the season's really great so far. So yeah, really excited to go and see where that leads us. We also have High Republic Phase 2 stuff coming out. I think Anisha's been keeping up with that.
Yeah, so just to briefly touch on this, we are nearing the end of High Republic Phase 2. The remaining, I believe there's one adult novel and one young adult novel remaining, Cataclysm and Path of Vengeance. They'll both release, I think, in April and in May. So as we near the end of Phase 2, we're going back to Phase 3 as soon as this fall. And as someone who loved Phase 1 of the High Republic, I'm very excited to go back into Phase 3 because Phase 3 continues the plot line in Phase 1, whereas Phase 2 is a prequel. And Phase 2 has been really great. I've been enjoying the world building, how different the galaxy feels, and I love the characters. I'm still very excited to go back to Phase 3, just to touch up on, Bel Zettifar, Elzar Mann, what have they been up to this whole time, right? So I'm very excited to go back to the High Republic.
Yeah, I personally I'm still reading Path of Deceit right now. It's the first novel in there. I love it. I just haven't had the time to sit down and read it, but now I do since it's spring break, so I'll probably finish that and Convergence and start the comics as well. But yeah, really excited. And because High Republic Phase 3 could potentially link to the upcoming Jedi Survivor game, it's the sequel to Fallen Order, and Fallen Order is a really, really great game. It's a Souls-like. I personally love Souls-like, so Fallen Order combining Star Wars and Souls-likes was like my dream come true. And Fallen Order, even though it was like kind of buggy, um, it was really great. And Survivor looks like it's going to be even better. Like, so have you guys played Fallen Order or
I
excited about
haven't.
Survivor?
My dad has though, full completion.
As
Yeah,
he should.
I've been through most of it. What has me really excited about Survivor is the fact that we know basically nothing about the story. Like Fallen Order, it was pretty obvious. You're gonna fight the Inquisitors. You're gonna eventually fight Vader. Survivor seems to be going in an entirely different direction, and I have no idea where it's gonna go, and that's what has me excited.
Yeah, and because it does seem like the main antagonist is a High Republic Jedi that like has been like in stasis or like in hibernation for the last like 300 years, and they wake up and they find that the Empire has taken over. And there is also a Gendai bounty hunter in it. So I think this is the first time that that species has been in canon, right? I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure.
I don't know a ton about them in Legends. In fact, I didn't even know that they existed in Legends, honestly, before you brought it up. But
Oh,
yeah,
I
that
just
is
knew
that's pretty cool
Dirge.
to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is Dirge one of them? I had no idea
Yeah.
actually. Oh, that
Yeah.
is cool. So no, yeah, that has me super excited in that case if they're gonna bring back stuff from Legends. So
Yeah, very exciting stuff. Yeah. I think we should get into the main meat of today's episode, which is the Bad Batch. I think the biggest thing to start out, I think this is the first time we've talked about Bad Batch on this podcast. So I think it's pretty important to bring up the unwhitewashed, the Bad Batch like movement on Twitter and like online. If you guys don't know, it's kind of like Tamura Morrison is M Maori, and so he has darker skin, obviously. And the Bad Batch, and I mean, obviously, all the clones are based off Jango Fett, who is played by Tamura Morrison. And obviously, like animation has come a long way for people of color, and like I think the way like the regs are animated in the Bad Batch like reflects, and also like people think that it actually like reflects his skin tone. But when it comes to the Bad Batch, because they're like for a myriad of reasons, maybe the animators chose to do this, maybe like they just didn't realize or something. But the Bad Batch does seem to be of like a lighter skin tone, like almost like they look white sometimes, compared to the regs and Tamara Morrison. So this could be for any number of reasons. Some people say it's because, oh, they're like mutants of the original template DNA, so like they look different, but also it plays into this other aspect of because they're the protagonists, they are better than the other regs, and because they're lighter skin tone, that brings its own whole thing. So yeah, I don't think people should stop watching the show because of this, but I think it's definitely important for people to keep in mind as they do watch the show. Um, yeah, it's most obvious when you look at the collectible figures because those are modeled to look like Tamura Morrison, but they're also just white, which is really weird. Because at least in like Clone Wars and the Bad Batch show, like they don't look exactly like Tamora Morrison does in real life. Uh, but yeah, it's pretty bad when you look at like the action figures.
I saw a post that said the one for Tech looked like Bryan Cranston.
No, like it really does. Like it's it's pretty bad. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, just something important to think about when you guys watch it. Well, because it is our first time talking about this, what are your guys' thoughts on season one, and how did it compare to other animated Star Wars shows, in your guys' opinion?
Yeah, so for season one of Bad Batch, I feel like comparing it to say I don't know, Clone Wars or Rebel season one, I thought Bad Batch did have the strongest opening season of them. Again, it feels like Clone Wars season eight to a certain extent, with all the character appearances from Clone Wars and the fact that the Bad Batch, did appear in the final season of the Clone Wars. But I think if you look at just the first seasons on their own and the story that they tell, I enjoyed Bad Batch the most of the opening seasons, and I say that because um I enjoy stories that build out the world, build out the Star Wars galaxy, but also have kind of a strong central narrative to them and an emotional focus to them, right? And with Bad Batch, I feel like season one, the emotional focus was the story of Crosshair for the most part, right? Because he was with the Empire, he would encounter the Bad Batch every couple episodes, and we kind of see, what's changed with him, what's his mental state right now, what's going on with him, right? But then simultaneously, we'd have all these random fun missions where we'd see what's happening on Ryloth, for example. We saw Cad Bane return. We saw the Pikes. We saw all these random fun characters show up, and I really enjoy stories like that that build out the galaxy. The only real critique I had, so to say, is the fact that it felt like there were too many cameos at a certain point. I'm not sure if you guys want to speak more to that, but we had Kanan, we had Hera, we had Fennec, we had Cad Bane, we had a lot more that I can't think of off the top of my head right now. But it felt like at a certain point it was just Filoni putting his characters in there. But overall, I enjoyed it. I'm curious what you guys think.
I personally enjoy cameos a lot. Like I do understand like that it gets to a point where there's too many, and I do think that happened in season one. But I honestly like I'm really just like Dave Filoni. I don't want to see all like existing characters in all the different media. Like his favorite characters are also my favorite characters, so like I'm really not that mad about it. But I do actually like in season two there are way less cameos, and I'm glad that they're like it's really focused on the Bad Batch rather than just like having a new like another existing character in coming into every episode or every other episode. So like both scenarios make me happy. So that's that's my 2 cents on that.
It might be nostalgia speaking, but I felt the Bad Batch had one of the weaker or weakest opening seasons of all of the animated shows. Um, Maybe on par with Resistance, because I felt like it relied too heavily on cameos and it made it more seem like a Clone Wars Season 8 or epilogue, especially with some of the arcs it pulled from. And until we got into the inhibitor chip arc and the return of Cad Bane, it seemed like the Bad Batch kind of struggled to create its own identity, which we're kind of starting to see later in season 2. And I appreciate that.
Yeah, I think I tend to agree with S- Stant there. Like, I I also think this is me personally, like what I enjoy seeing in shows is like a strong central narrative that ties everything together. Because I don't exactly like a lot of the time, like random uh single arc episodes. Like I do, but when it comes to something like I feel like with Star Wars shows, me personally, I do enjoy seeing like something tying all these seemingly maybe unconnected episodes together. And I do think Bad Batch maybe was having a little bit of trouble doing that in the first season. Because I think a couple of episodes kind of slipped my mind. It's like what happened, and like sometimes like I do, or like when I was watching season one, like I did kind of like tap out for like a little bit, then like come back in when something cool is happening. But I think that's just me. So, but I do think I feel like both every Star Wars like animated show that I've seen, like Rebels, Clone Wars, Bad Batch, their season finales are like the best thing in the world. Because
Oh
I
yeah, for
think
sure.
yeah, like Bad Batch season one ending was like Camino getting destroyed like that. Yeah, I think their finales are like amazing, and I do think season two, but we're gonna talk about this later. But like season two is gonna be equally as good, I think.
Yeah, and at a certain point, it goes without saying, but the animation and the music and everything has just been amazing. I thought
Yeah,
Clone Wars season 7 was kind of the peak of Star Wars animation, but it's even better in
yeah,
Bad Batch. And in Bad Batch season
yeah,
2, there's some really, really cool shots that we'll probably talk about later when we go into season 2 more. But yeah, the animation has been absolutely incredible.
yeah, and I think Crosshair, like that reveal that he never had his chip taken out in season one. That happened in season one, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, that was insane because then Crosshair gets he has had two episodes so far, three episodes, right? In season two?
One that you haven't watched.
One, okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's like three episodes in season two, and the two that I've watched were amazing. Like they were really good. So, and I do think those are a nice little like break from what the main batch is doing in season two.
And I do like how sparing they are. Like I've seen people online complain about how like there's too much filler in between like the good episodes or the Crosshair episodes, and I'm like, well, it makes it more special when we get another Crosshair episode. It's like
Yeah.
they make us
Yeah.
wait a couple weeks and then boom, Crosshair episode, and then for the next week, I'm just I'm
You're just
just
like waiting to see like
distraught
what's
for the
happening.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
I
that's
mean,
what I feel, right? It's like, I mean, I get the point of view that like some of the missions seem like they're filler, they're kind of just like random side quests, but I don't need to see Crosshair every single week. I don't need to see like the Empire every single week, right? I
yeah.
feel like random missions are just fun. It's just like, 20 minutes of you watch random Star Wars, you visit a new
Yeah.
random planet, right? So I don't mind those episodes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like I definitely don't dislike those episodes. It's just like maybe it is just like nostalgia, but like comparing it to like Clone Wars and or Rebels. And I don't even particularly like Clone Wars season one. But I do think the Malevolence arc was pretty good.
See, yeah, I was about to say that's one of my favorite arcs, and it's in season one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
season one is a bit rough. I'm not gonna lie for Clone Wars.
Yeah,
It
it
has
is.
rookies, introduces Domino squads, so automatically that episode is a masterpiece. So
Yeah. Well, since we're talking about Crosshair already, like what are your guys' like thoughts on Crosshair's arc and like his episodes, like what he's been going through, what he's done? Because me personally, I definitely thought he was a full 100% Empire like supporter fanboy. But after Outpost, I haven't seen the next one, but I was like, oh, whoa, like he still has compassion in him, and I think that was something that I honestly didn't really expect from Crosshair of all people. To
I didn't
save,
either because as I was watching the episode, the whole time I was like, I really want him to kill this guy. I need Crosshair to like wake up and kill this guy. I didn't expect it to happen,
yeah,
but it did.
yeah,
yeah,
and
that was
because like
amazing.
when that happened, like I was just like, holy shit, like
Yeah, I was
he just
staring at my
killed
screen like,
like an
bro, what?
Imperial Admiral.
I ended up watching that
Yeah.
episode 4 times.
Yeah, no, that episode was amazing. Honestly, all the Crosshair episodes, I mean, we've had two so far that are like Crosshair solo episodes this season. The third one, which you have not seen, Brian, that's like Crosshair plus other characters. But
Mhm.
yeah, the two solo ones, they have a different tone to them, honestly. Like they feel very Blade Runner-esque in their tone and cinematography. Like some of the shots, like I think episode 3 is the one with Cody, right? Like that one on that one Separatist planet, like some of those shots were insane with the synthy kind of music in the background.
Yeah.
I think those episodes have a different tone entirely, honestly.
Yeah, like I think that Cody episode three was really good. And I've been liking how Bad Batch and also Mando season three to an extent with uh the episode in Coruscant have been like kind of giving peeks into life, just like kind of daily life under the like under this new rule. I think episodes like one and two of season two with like Count Dooku's war chest or war loot or whatever, I really, really enjoyed the episode when they were just talking to that like old guy who was like living in the woods about life under the Republic and life now. Like I think that like that really caught my attention because it's like, yeah, like I think to most people like not much really changed for them. They're just like, oh, okay, it's this new guy, whatever. Same old, same old.
Yeah, it's an interesting point because of how similar the clones look to the stormtroopers, right? To them, it's just another random regime who's now happened to be the one in power, but
Yeah,
nothing really changes for them, right?
yeah,
And it's also nice to see like the clones hearing that from other people and like realizing that like not in the Bad Batch's case, but like other clones realizing like both the governments that they've fought for, they're both corrupt and bad and like just not
They're not like flawless in a certain sense.
exactly.
Yeah,
Yes. And the Bad Batch like has only ever fought for the Republic, but like now they're learning like the Republic was not all everything that the propaganda that they were fed
yeah,
was. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. And then there was Crosshair wasn't in the episode. No, no, no. It was that other clone that was like hired to assassinate Chuchi, right?
Oh yeah, the nameless one.
Yeah,
yeah, that has me super compelled. I have theories as to where that clone came from, what's happening, but it kind of does spoil an episode you haven't seen, Brian, the latest episode. Um, but yeah, no, that was super interesting because in that episode, like that whole arc, it was I think episode 7 and 8 ish. It was around the middle. The whole metamorphosis, not metamorphosis. The clone conspiracy. It was
Yeah.
something like that, right? Yeah, like
yeah,
the whole arc on Coruscant was super cool to see. Um,
yeah,
I liked it for a couple of reasons, mainly because the cameos that we got felt natural, right? Like Chuchi showing up to be the one to represent the clones was really cool, considering how she was characterized in the Clone Wars, right?
Yeah.
And Bail Organa showing up made complete sense given the state of the situation, right?
yeah,
And that clone assassin and Rex and everyone else in that episode, it made it super cool. Like those episodes, obviously they feel very tonally distinct from, say, episode 4, where Tech is racing on that planet, right? Like it feels like a completely different show entirely, right? At a certain point, but all the episodes have a really strong emotional core to them, which does bring the whole thing together. Like
yeah,
in episode 7 and 8, the Clone Conspiracy, obviously the ending was Echo leaving the team, right? Like that was a very strong moment for me at least, right? And in episode 4, that's Tech, winning the race. So each episode has its own emotional moments. I think that's what really brings season 2 together as a whole. Is like, yeah, we have all these different stories, but even some fillery episodes, the batch does get genuine character development, right? Like I feel like all the members have been focused on this season. It's not just like Hunter and Crosshair like last season, right? So
yeah. That I totally agree that that was one thing that was lacking last season or season one was like Tech and Echo getting, or I mean Echo got a lot of characterization in Clone Wars, but like Tech at least, I think season one he was just always like the nerd.
Yeah. Yeah, I
That
am very, very happy with the amount of tech development we've got. Like I loved the racing episode.
yeah, it was
That,
really
I
fun.
really love that episode. And then
It was
the
fun.
Ipsium episode too, with that convo that he had with Omega was really nice. I love seeing that.
yeah, that was really nice to see. Just kind of hearing it like from Tech, just the fact that he's recognized that, yeah, he's different from all the clones, even different from the other Bad Batchers to this extent. But it
Mhm.
doesn't mean that, he's any that he cares any less about his team, right? Because, I think he said something like, I express emotions differently, but I still feel the same as you to Omega, right? Something like that. Like that line really stood out to me. That was really well written.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Now I just need a Wrecker episode.
yeah, I mean I think all like these emotional beats that season two episodes have been hitting are great. Siddhant, do you have any thoughts?
Not exactly. I kind of find it kind of funny, I guess, that Tech's a hot guy and like has so many people just swooning at it behind him because I did not expect that for season two.
Yeah, Brian, you haven't seen this episode yet, but you know,
I have not, but
you'll
like I
see.
did see it on Twitter, and I did see our Discord. So
Yeah,
I'm excited. I think I'm gonna go watch those tonight.
yeah.
Uh,
Nice to
Um,
see some love for my man Tech.
yeah,
He deserves it.
he does. He does. Justice for the nerds. What can I say? Well, we touched on this already, but like the amount of cameos and stuff in season one, and I think this extends to the rest of like the Filoniverse, as we love to call it.
I love that that's a word.
Yeah. Well, I mean, because I think there's such a stark difference between what he's like, because like you can kind of just tell what he's touched
Yeah.
based on what cameos there are.
Yeah,
I feel like,
exactly.
because like Mando, we've had like Ahsoka and like Thrawn name drops, but like I don't know what's the show he hasn't touched.
Andor.
Andor, yeah, like
Yes.
we could have like Mon Mothma and Saw, which
But
are
like,
like make sense
yeah.
and
Mon
don't feel
Mothma
like
like
they're
had like a main role in the show. She was supposed
yeah,
to be there. We got one Saw episode, which like that was kind of obligatory because it's rebellion and stuff, and he's like a big part of that.
yeah,
But otherwise, like who else was in that show?
yeah. So I do think that the cameos used in season 2 are a lot better than season 1. Though I do agree with Liam in season 1 when Hera and Cham were there, I was like, oh my God, like they're here. I love them. But and I do enjoy seeing cameos, but I do also understand like on the rewatch, I'm like, oh, like why are they here? Like this doesn't make much sense. Like they're here. But I think like what Anish said earlier, like Chuchi showing up, Bale showing up in the Senate episodes made so much sense. And I think and like in that case, it really added to the story because we saw Chuchi be so compassionate in Clone Wars. We just see that getting extended to her role as a senator and trying to fight for the clones in that episode. In terms of like bad cameos, I honestly can't really
The
think
only
of
bad
many.
cameos I can think of are the ones that retcon other pieces of content. The only real one that comes to mind is the Kanan one.
Yeah,
I
in
think the
season 1.
very first episode of Bad Batch. I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Like that one was like it didn't need to be Kanan. It could have been any random Jedi youngling, right? But it was a Filoni thing, and he's like, audiences know Kanan, let's put him in there. And I get it to an extent, but also like you retconned a comic. So yeah,
Yeah.
those cameos are just they make me roll my eyes, but yeah.
Also, he didn't look like Kanan. Like, why was he
Yeah.
ginger?
He had the voice of
Yeah.
like a 40-year-old male.
Yeah, no,
That is my
no,
least
like
favorite part of Kanan outside of Rebels is his voice.
Yeah.
No hate for the voice actor, but that was not it.
I'm pretty
Just
sure it
like-
was the same voice actor as
Was it
Rebels,
the same
but
guy?
he was
Yeah,
voicing
no,
like
no,
they're
no.
like half his age
Younger
straight
with
up.
a higher
So
voice.
yeah.
it's really bad.
I didn't like Fennec Shand in the mid part of Bad Batch season 1. I just felt like it was a necessary cross promotion when we have like Aurra Singh, Boss, and all the other Boba Fett's supporting cast from Clone Wars, which are like up in the air.
That's a fair point. I can definitely see that because I'm pretty sure Boba Fett was coming out like not too long after Bad Batch aired, right? I can definitely see some extent of like, Fennec and Cad Bane were in Bad Batch and later they were both in Boba Fett. So yeah, that's one cameo I think was just like forced connectivity, which I mean it could have been any bounty hunters, but I mean Cad Bane's return was good. I thought it was cool to see him come back. Fennec, I don't remember a ton about her role in season 1. She was in like probably a couple episodes that come to mind.
Yeah, she was
I-
hired by like Nala Se to like go find Omega and bring her back.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I mean her cameo was okay. The one cameo I really have enjoyed in season 2 so far was Gunji, the Wookiee.
Yes.
During the critique episode, that actually made me cheer straight up. Like that was so nice. Like we haven't seen him in probably like 10 years since that Clone Wars episode dropped, right? With all the younglings. Like super cool to see him back.
I'm hoping it's probably a long shot, but I'm hoping that because they brought one of those Padawans back, like in a later piece of Star Wars media, we will get to see the rest of those Padawans because I want to know, did they survive Order 60? Another Order 6016. That's what it's going to be. But did they survive the Order? And what are they doing now?
I mean, the fact that he's by himself makes me think they got Anakin, but
Yeah.
we'll see.
We can hope.
We can hope.
We can hope. And talking about them, the droid, Professor
Huang?
Huang, yeah.
Yeah.
Where's he?
He's in the
Yeah.
Ahsoka series.
Wait, really?
He's gonna be. That was announced like a year-ish ago. Yeah.
Oh
So
shit.
Completely
that'll
missed
be
that.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, cool. Okay,
Great, he survived.
Yeah, that's like all I needed to know is like he wasn't shot up by the clones.
Yeah.
I do think a cameo that also worked really well was the Zillo Beast
Yes.
in that episode.
Oh,
If
yeah,
you can
for
call it
sure.
a cameo, I guess it's an Easter egg, I guess. Um, but I guess this also ties into the bigger thing about Bad Batch tying in with Mandalorian, which ties in with the sequels. And 100% honest, I didn't completely finish the last episode on the Phantom Menace. I'm like halfway through, so I need to finish that. But I do think they're trying to like make the sequels more appealing to that part of the fandom in a way by including all these things by like being like, hey, well, like this makes sense because Grogu and like the Zillo Beast and like the cloning facility and like all this stuff like and like not even for like the toxic part of the fandom, also like me personally, like I think it's really cool to see where Snoke came from and like how that happened because like I've been watching Bad Batch and like The Mandalorian, like, oh, like this ties into this or like this could tie into this or like it's pretty cool stuff
Yeah.
that
I
Yeah.
ties into
mean,
the
yeah,
sequels.
it's more or less similar to how the Clone Wars like fixed per se Anakin's fall. I mean, I thought Anakin's fall, I mean, it was good just watching the movies on their own, but like having seen the Clone Wars and all the arcs about Anakin's relationship with Ahsoka and Obi-Wan and how all that develops. Obviously, watching episode 3 is much more heartbreaking, right? That goes
Yeah.
without saying, obviously. But yeah, I feel like it's not entirely different from that, where it's like, yeah, Palpatine returning is pretty dumb. I think people kind of agree on that in general, not even just the toxic fandom. I think everyone is kind of like it's kind of out of nowhere. So I feel like having that be explained is something I'm not opposed to. It's
Yeah.
cool to see the in-universe reasons behind the cloning stuff on Exegol, the cloning stuff for Grogu, whatever Moff Gideon wants with Grogu, wherever all of that is going. I'm on board with it personally.
Yeah, if they could find a way to explain why he A survived the Death Star and B came back, like great. Because I I I my toxic trait is that I try to rationalize every single thing in Star Wars, no matter how stupid it is. Like I just find a way to make it make sense in my head, and that's like the one thing that I have not been able to like make myself enjoy because it was just such a dumb idea. So if they can make it make sense, then I'll be
They're
happy.
they're explaining the somehow, and somehow Palpatine returned, basically.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. But maybe it was written to be unexplained because somehow he returned.
It's
Yeah,
true.
Like,
but it's so
no,
dumb that like that's not even funny. Like it was so stupid.
There's stuff that's been written in universe about it. It's convoluted, and I would appreciate more context. But the gist of it is like the Bad Batch. We've seen the cloning stuff on the planet Wayland, right? And that could connect to the cloning stuff in Mandalorian with Dr. Pershing, right? And the stuff in canon was like Palpatine, like essence transferred to a clone body as he was falling down the shaft or something like that. And then using the cloning tech, which we might get context on in Bad Batch and Mando, is how he gets revived. I'm guessing that's where it's going. That's just my thought process right now.
yeah, I would agree with that. Like, because I isn't that what happens in Legends too? Is like he like transferred his soul to like a clone on some other planet.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
It was
So,
even worse in Legends, but yeah. Because Luke turned to the dark side, so but like
oh,
the Emperor clone made him turn and do some stuff, and yeah, it was worse. So
nice. Well, yeah, I do think that the direction this is going with like laying out these pieces and then putting them together in the end will be really cool to see. Especially with like convergence of all these different shows. Well, I think we got like 2 episodes left, right? 2, 3 episodes left of Bad Batch
I
before
think
season finale.
I think two, and I think they're dropping
Too.
at the same time this week.
I think the finale is the two that are dropping this week, right?
Oh, okay.
Wait, yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah,
All right.
So
So
it's
I gotta
ending this
catch up.
week.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
by the time this is posted, the finale might have aired, potentially.
yeah.
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 Well, do you guys want to get your predictions out there right now? Any thoughts?
I mean, this might
Not
cover
necessarily
spoilers for the ones you
prediction.
haven't seen, but yeah.
I think it's okay. I already saw the notes here.
Okay, cool. So yeah, Lemur, Silent, you guys want to go ahead?
Not necessarily a prediction, but I'm just hoping like Cody shows up again because he left in episode 3, and I'm like, where is
Yeah,
he? How
yeah.
is he not with the other clones in the recent episode that Brian hasn't seen? Like, bring him back. Where is my son? Is he safe? Is he all right?
So we know that the first episode is the summit, and we know that there's going to be some sort of cloning meeting based on what the people on Mount Tantus are saying. So I assume we're going to have the Bad Batch being forced there based on episode 14, and all of that results in Omega getting captured or something. Basically, one of them ends up captured, and Crosshair reunites with the rest of the Bad Batch to initiate Plan 99, the final episode, and they somehow retrieve Omega and put a halt to the cloning efforts. And all in the middle of that, they somehow reunite with Rex, Echo, Cody, and initiate some form of clone rebellion that could be like the end of season 2 or something that's going to happen more in season 3.
And this time,
And
Crosshair goes with them.
Yeah,
That's what I want to see.
be better. I mean, I
Get your
personally,
ass on the ship, dude.
yeah, I personally will be mad if Crosshair does not go with them again. Like, bro, like you should go with them last season. So
Yeah, no, like already at the end of season 1, I was like, come on, like what the
Yeah, bro.
hell?
yeah. No, his arc feels like
Got there.
his arc feels like Prince Zuko's arc to me, where he had to have that walkabout kind of season, and then now that that's done, he's gonna get his redemption, hopefully. So
Yeah.
we'll see. But yeah, for the finale, there's a couple things that come to mind. One is that we're most likely gonna get a season 3 for the show, I would think. So I don't think this is going to be a series finale. So I feel like to set up for season 3, I feel like the big plot point you have to set up is the Bad Batch is going to help Rex and the Clone Rebellion, right? Because the past season was them dealing with Sid and being all like, we're sick of your bullshit, basically, because she's sending them on these random missions which are dangerous and she doesn't care for them in return. And I feel like the Bad Batch is going to something's going to happen that basically spurs them into action, being like, we have to be out there fighting the Empire. We can't just go planet to planet, job to job any longer. What I think is going to happen, something I don't want to happen, but might, is Echo might die in this season, and yeah, it's rough. I don't want to see it happen. But he's the member of the batch that's the most motivated to fight the Empire, right? He's the one who empathizes with the Regs, who wants to take the fight to the Empire. And he is not in Star Wars Rebels. He's not with Rex and Gregor and all of them in Rebels. There's also Echo Base on Hoth, which could be named after Echo. There's I don't know. It's lining up. All the evidence is lining up. But I would genuinely not be surprised if Echo going out is what motivates the Bad Batch to join the rebellion officially.
Yeah, I also wouldn't be surprised. But I think it would hurt a lot.
Oh, shit,
Oh yeah,
word.
for sure. He's the last
Like,
domino, right?
yeah. And having not seen the most recent one, this talk about a clone rebellion sounds really, really fun. And
Yeah.
I do want to see the next 2 that I haven't seen because I feel like this would all make a lot more sense if I did.
Yeah, it would.
Yeah. There's a returning clone or two who I don't want to spoil for you, Brian, but some
I
returning clones from
okay.
previous episodes.
I did see on Twitter, I think like Wolf
Was Wolf
was
in
in
this?
it.
No,
No,
No?
okay.
it was
Okay.
not Wolf.
Maybe
I
it was
was,
someone that looked like similar. It was just like one tweet about it.
but like in the beginning of that episode, I was like looking for Wolf. Like, is he in this episode? Like,
Right, yeah. I was
where is
looking
he?
for
Because
Wolf.
he ends up in Rebels. So I'm like, why have we not seen Wolf yet?
Yeah.
I think Wolf could be one of the like sleeper agents they mentioned who's with the Empire, because didn't Rex or Echo or someone was like, there are clones within the Empire who are loyal to us. And in Rebels, Wolf had his whole thing about like, oh, I'm gonna contact the Empire, like that whole bit, right? So I
Yeah.
feel like
Right.
he could be a deep cover Imperial agent, which would be interesting to see potentially next season.
Oh
But
yeah.
that would be cool. Aside from that, for the finale, one random thing I want to see is that they've set up that there is at least one Zillo Beast on Mount Tantus, potentially multiple. If they broke them loose, that would be amazing, and I want to see that because they've set it up. So
Yeah,
I'm just happy
and
we got any Zillowbees content at all because those 2 episodes of the Clone Wars actually like made me mad because I was like, you have that ending of that episode, like she's ordered to clone the beast, and then like
yeah, and then like
what?
nothing.
Nothing else.
Yeah, no, no,
Yeah.
no, no. That because and like Palpatine's little like evil, sinister smile at the end of
Yes.
that
Oh
episode in
my
Clone
God.
Wars too. Like, come on,
Like it
like,
was so deep, the end of the episode. I was like,
yeah,
whoa, you got to do something with this, and then they never did.
yeah. But we had to wait like what, like
Probably 10 years,
10
honestly.
years for
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
It's been
years.
84 years.
Yeah. But I think also like even having not seen the most recent 2 episodes, I think it like this season's definitely been building up to the Bad Batch taking up like an explicit fight up against the Empire, which I think is great because I that's what I personally like to see is like that's one of my favorite arcs is like the reluctant people finally finding like a reason and like the will to fight. Like it doesn't matter if it's like Bad Batch or like I don't know, like The Last of Us or like The Mandalorian where it's like, like I don't want this kid, but like this kid is mine now. I'll protect it. And I think that's similar with Bad Batch and like their reluctance to fight and then finally realizing that yeah, like maybe like this is what we have to do.
I mean, they also got a kid that they didn't want in the
Yeah,
beginning.
true, true,
That's true.
true. Exactly. So, it all adds up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, Omega's probably going to show up in the Mandoverse eventually. I'm guessing. I'm guessing the Bad Batch is
yeah.
setting her up for that. Yeah.
Yeah, I personally want I personally would like to see like kind of like N- Nala Se and Omega them like talk. And also because like she's really protective of Omega, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to know like maybe like is Omega really just like a mutant or like was she purposefully made to be?
Yeah, I'm honestly surprised that we haven't gotten anything about their relationship yet. Like Omega doesn't even talk about her. And like just we've only seen like Nala Se's side of it where like she
Yeah,
is really desperate to get her back. And like
yeah.
I'm wondering, is that because she's possessive of her, or is she actually like loves her like one of her kids?
Yeah, and I think that's an extra layer because like the Kaminoans, we've seen pretty much that they're apathetic. They're like they have like no emotion. But
Yeah.
I do feel like Nala Se maybe does like actually care about Omega. So
Yeah. And I mean Lama Su even said like you can manipulate Nala Se if you like have
yeah,
Omega. So there's that also.
yeah. And maybe we can get another like Palpatine appearance in the finale where he makes a speech again.
Yeah.
Because I'm not
His
gonna
appearance
lie,
was so cool. It
no,
was
like
so well
that,
done.
like when he appeared in like on the Senate floor, like just like the floor opening and like everyone's like arguing and then like he just like rises up on his little platform thing. I was like screaming in my chair. Like I was like screaming and pointing at the screen. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, well, I'm looking here. I do know that we didn't talk about this with the cameos, but I think in the credits they finally credited the commando as Scorch,
Yes,
Yes,
I
right,
did.
did.
Anish?
Super excited for that. Yeah.
And
So yeah, that's
yeah, like
cool.
I think Anish, this is your realm, but like I haven't played the game, or are there books
Yeah,
about
so
the
there's
Republic
a
Commando?
Republic Commando game in which Scorch appears. It's based on Delta Squad, which were in like one scene in Clone Wars. But they never got their own arc or anything like that. There's a lot of Legends material surrounding them where they go about the Clone Wars. The game is just them during the Clone Wars. It ends with one of their team, the sniper Sev, going MIA on Kashyyyk. And I know a lot of people were theorizing this season that we'd see Kashyyyk and we'd see Sev. I think that could be a season 3 thing if they wanted to go that route, where they get back in touch with Gunji and they're like, "Yo, we found a clone," and then it's Sev. But yeah, regardless, it's cool to see Delta Squad at the very least Scorch get stuff to do because the game was pretty good in establishing their dynamic. It's not too different from the Bad Batch. You have the leader, you have the tech guy, you have the demolitions guy, and you have the sniper, right? It's the standard squad dynamic, right? Which it was pretty cool to see in the game. But if you enjoy the show, I would really recommend the novels. There are 4 Republic Commando novels and 1 Imperial Commando novel. It follows Delta Squad as well as Omega Squad, which is another squad of commandos. And I like to think that Omega in Bad Batch was potentially named as a homage to Omega Squad, which would be cool. But regardless, I think if you enjoyed the Bad Batch episodes, the Clone Conspiracy, like 7 and 8, those in particular, the books are really just more of that. They're Coruscant based for a lot of their plotline, deal with a lot of like political intrigue surrounding clones, that sort of thing. A lot of ethical questions about the clones and things like their accelerated aging. Do they deserve a full life or just kind of half a life? Right? Things like that are really the focus of the series. And all 5 books are really good. Unfortunately, the final book did not release because Disney bought Lucasfilm. And so the series is kind of incomplete, which annoys me, but at least those 5 books are very good. I would recommend those.
More to add to the list.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just more books, more on our extended universe trip. But yeah, like I think getting into like the minds of like clones and all of that like those ethical questions about the clones and like the transition from like clones like conscription and like even volunteer service, like I think that was what I was most excited to see coming in to Bad Batch season 1. Even like just when the series was announced, I just really wanted to see like why did they stop using clones, and like kind of like what, because I don't think we really got many like kind of like people outside of the wars perspectives on clones, but I think we've been getting that a lot more in season 2, which is really cool. um but yeah, and then like the whole thing about like them, like, oh sorry, when you mentioned Imperial Commando as like the title for one of the books, that made me think of how Crosshair, his new armor kind of looks like a Death Trooper. Um, if you guys want to talk about that, because I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Because
there's actually a theory I saw this morning, but it does actually this is not a super big plot point from the next episode you haven't seen. Brian, is it cool if I talk about it? It's a minor thing.
yeah, yeah,
So the Bad Batch go to a planet which is an island called Pabu, right? It's an island, it's like a tropical-ish planet. I think Pabu's the name of the city, not the planet. The planet was unnamed. I shared this in our Discord actually. The theory is that that planet becomes Scarif, or it is Scarif, and it becomes an Imperial installation. And I say that because we only see the one island. It's a random community that the Bad Batch go on. Like next episode is just them going on that planet doing like a fun little side mission, right? And the theory is that because Crosshair could link to Death Troopers, the Empire finds the Batch on this planet and they take over, and yeah, it's Scarif. And I thought it was interesting that the planet was never named. I noticed that like Fee takes him to the planet and she's just like, go to these coordinates. Like nothing more specific is said. So I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, or it does become like the start of the Death Trooper program on Scarif, which would be really cool to see.
That does make a lot of sense.
yeah,
I think it makes a little too much sense.
yeah. Like I personally don't think you're reading into it, because I think with Fallen Order and the fact that Starkiller Base is on Ilum, like
Oh, it is?
I think yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Oh
I
yeah,
didn't know it
that
was
that
Ilum.
yeah, no, that was a pretty big thing in Fallen Order, was like you go to Ilum and then like you see like the Starkiller Base, like that like center ring is like beginning to be excavated out,
Oh my
and I
god.
think that was really cool. So I think this planet theories could track out. But yeah, like, and like have there been any more content on Death Troopers? Because I don't know much about them. Like I just know like they don't speak basic. Like don't they like speak some other like garbled language?
There hasn't been a ton of lore on like how they were formed. I at least know the Death Troopers in Star Wars Rebels, they did speak basic. I think the garbled is just like, some encrypted speak. Basically, I think
Oh yeah.
they do speak basic. But yeah, there has been basically no lore on like how the program was formed, which I think Bad Batch is probably gonna go into either Death Troopers or even Dark Troopers, right? Like from Mando. Because
Oh
like those
yeah.
on Mando were droids, but like they were like a later phase. I think the earlier phases were like humans. So I think regardless, Crosshair, and whatever class of soldier he's in, basically, like more of those kinds of troopers could very well be the first Death or Dark Troopers.
Yeah, and then his other like his squad in season 1 had black armor too. So right.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they're all dead, but
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool.
But yeah. So I think season 2 will set up a lot, and I think that's just another like Dave classic is like setting so many things up and making everyone really excited for season 3, then making us wait like 2 years for it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not worried. We have Andor to look forward to in the meantime.
yeah,
So
yeah, we have Andor, more Mandalorian,
And
High Republic
Ahsoka.
stuff,
it's okay.
and Ahsoka.
Is Ahsoka
So
this year or next year?
It should be this summer, I
That's
think.
what I thought.
Yeah,
this summer?
yeah. It came up fast,
Oh my
so that'll be
God.
cool.
Yeah, it's almost
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Are we still
Yeah,
getting
no, that's
Skeleton
been
Crew
I think
this
a lot of
year?
people's most hype series. Yeah. Sorry, Stunt, what were you saying?
Are we still getting Skeleton Crew this year, or was that delayed?
Skeleton Crew? We haven't
Oh, I
heard
think they
much about
postponed
it.
that.
I think we saw an image of Jude Law in the 2023 Disney Plus preview, but I think they changed that now.
Yeah, I don't know if we got a release window even. I know like at least on the Marvel side, they're saying they're gonna push back the Disney Plus content. I don't know if Star Wars is gonna be affected by that. Um, but I wouldn't be surprised if it's delayed to like maybe early next year or something, or like late this year, something like that.
Yeah, and then we also got Acolyte coming out
I am
soon.
so excited
Acolyte
for
will
that.
be cool. Yeah.
Yeah,
Acolyte has the
so
potential to be the next Andor, just in like how different it is from
Yeah.
everything. That's what I'm thinking.
I'm
yeah,
like starved for Sith lore. Like there's two. I don't care about the Jedi anymore. Tell me about the Sith. They're
yeah,
cooler.
yeah. And I think it takes place during the High Republic, right?
Yes, that'll be cool to
So
see.
I
I,
think this
I
will
don't know
be,
like how much it'll tie in to like the books, considering I've heard it's like late High Republic era.
mm,
But regardless, seeing the era in live action will be cool. So
yeah. So I think this will be a lot of people's first uh interaction with the High Republic, and hopefully it gets them to read the books, which they should, which and which you guys should, the listeners, because they're amazing. Um, well, do you guys have any final thoughts on Bad Batch? Any more predictions or directions you want to see the show go in?
I think one thing to note is that when we got the show announced, it felt like it was kind of random. Like, I mean, it's cool to see the Bad Batch do more stuff, but it's like they're getting a whole series, and it goes to
Yeah,
show like there's so much content to explore. Obviously, that I didn't think they would explore, so I've been really enjoying the ride as we go.
Liam or
I don't really have
Tom?
anything else to add.
I feel like Bad Batch has learned from some of the criticisms of early Rebels, especially of how Ezra was considered a lot kind of annoying by the teenage and adult audience, and I feel like they've developed and changed Omega's characterization appropriately so that no one hates Omega.
Yeah, and I do think that Bad Batch strikes a great balance between like the kid show aspect of it and also like the older fans that grew up with Clone Wars and Rebels and stuff. Um, because I think that goes to my earlier point about me maybe not liking like the side mission stuff a lot. But I do think that they've constructed all the episodes in a way where it's like, yeah, like like this might seem like a boring filler episode, but it's really not when you think about it, which is what I enjoy.
Yeah, I would note that at certain points, Bad Batch feels like significantly more mature than even Clone Wars, honestly. Because like
Yeah,
we've had
yeah,
multiple like on-screen suicides this season, like
yeah,
the cyanide pill thing, right?
yeah,
And then like I'm pretty sure the Outpost was like the first time they showed like actual blood in any of like the animated shows in Star Wars, and I noticed that I was like, there's no way they showed that, but they did. And I mean like it's not really a kids show in the same way I would characterize like early Rebels as a kids show, because obviously like I think a lot of the episodes are more mature or more nuanced just in the way they're directed and put together.
yeah,
But I think it's grown up with its audience, right?
yeah. Like I feel like this, or at least maybe not all episodes, but a lot of episodes like you could show to a kid. Like definitely not like maybe like the crosshair ones or like the more like political intrigue ones, but
But I
yeah,
mean, even so, like a lot of like an 8-year-old watching that it would probably just go over their heads.
yeah, true.
Like when I was watching the Clone Wars, like even some of the darker stuff in the Clone Wars, like I didn't catch any of that as a kid, and then rewatching it as an adult, I'm looking at that like, wait, they put that on Cartoon Network for me to watch at 8 years old.
Yeah, no,
Like
like I think the thing with Bo-Katan and like
Oh my
Ahsoka.
god.
Yeah, see that like I wouldn't have even cared about that as a child, and then I watched that
Yeah,
as
but
an
like now
adult.
you
Like,
watch it, you're like, what the hell?
There's
yeah,
like so many YouTube compilations of like Anakin committing war crimes and something, and then you just watch it as a kid and you're like, haha, whatever. And then now you
Yeah,
watch it and you're like, what the hell? Like,
yeah,
it's so
like
funny.
I feel like if I was a kid watching Bad Batch now and like maybe like all the stuff with like Crosshair and like that clone like hunting the senator, like I would be like, oh, like okay, that's cool. Oh no, he's a
yeah,
clone. Oh, he died.
yeah,
But
exactly.
like now it's like, oh my God, like I can't believe, yeah, like they showed that and like, you know. So
Yeah.
yeah, I definitely do think Bad Batch has learned to grow with its audience and like they know kind of what their audience wants and what they enjoy.
Yes, I very much enjoy on-screen suicide. Totally.
Well, I mean, like maybe not that, but like understand the more like nuanced, complex parts of
Yeah.
the Star Wars universe. Yeah. Well, if you guys don't have any more final thoughts on Bad Batch, no. Okay,
Nope.
I guess my final thought is just like I'm really excited to watch the next episodes that I haven't watched after what you guys have said. Uh, and I think I'll be even more excited for season three. When have they announced season three yet?
I don't believe
No,
so, but I wouldn't be
no.
surprised if we get it soon.
Yeah, well, I'm I'm gonna be really excited for the potential, but probably happening in season three. Yeah. Well, remember, stay tuned for more information about the fan film and for the next episode, Trident Squadron